Hey guys, and welcome back to the Movie-Club Emporium. And yeah, it's time that we talk about that RoadHouse remake. Now, I'll be fully honest and transparent with you guys. I love RoadHouse. Uh, I have a love for this terribly fun movie, the original. I love it, and so I have a pretty fun story behind it that I've shared a few times on our lives over on Twitch, twitch.tv/The Movie-Club Emporium. You should check them out there. But no, I do love the original RoadHouse, and so when they announced that they were remaking it, I believe my initial reaction was, okay. Like, this isn't, as much as I love it, it's not a movie that I hold in, like, unremakeable territory. A movie that is just kind of a perfect piece of film that encapsulates, say, a perfect moment in time, or an actor who's no longer here's legacy, that should never ever be touched. I'm looking at you, the Crow. So I had no problems with this movie. So I will be reviewing this not as a remake to RoadHouse. Because first and foremost, it's not. Yeah, we carry over one name. Do we make a last name? And that character has a brief romantic fling with a doctor, and he kind of not really works at a bar. In fact, he works in this movie at a roadhouse called the RoadHouse. Yeah, this really isn't a remake of that movie at all. And look, I get like I understand what they were doing kind of with the filmmaking of this movie. I know Doug Liman got his start. I think he was doing those Bourne movies. Which I never really said that I watched. I've heard they're really good. I was always more of a Mission Impossible guy myself. Just like watching Tom Cruise jump off stuff. But this movie isn't not a good movie. Forget about, we'll get into like story and stuff like that, which that's not that bad, but this whole like being in the middle of the action by being the camera whip panning around to where you don't know what part of the room you're in. It's disorienting. It's almost nauseating. I was just like in my own home being like, give me a wide shot. Because you can't tell where you are in the action. And then we do this thing where we want to be able to let you see the hard hitting reaction of fist punching face. And so we use CGI to make that happen, to where you're watching two actors kind of do a choreographed move, and then they become cartoons for a minute. And then we go back to choreographed moves and then cartoons. And there's even a moment where we have two actors in in a blue screen fight, to where it looks so ridiculous. If you'd have told me it was the ending to Man of Steel, I would have believed you. Jake Gyllenhaal in this movie is fine. He does a perfectly good job of playing Ryan Reynolds playing a bouncer. Like, he's so like quippy. It's so weird because I don't take Jake Gyllenhaal as like a quippy kind of actor. Like, I mean, to be fair, I mostly think of Gyllenhaal from either Zodiac or Johnny Darko, so there's not a lot of quips to be had in those films. But he's very Wade Wilson-esque in this movie with his one-liners. And you have the villains. Now we'll get to the best. We'll say the best for last, but the main villain of this town in the Florida Keys, because that's what we're doing now. It's just drug running in the Keys. So we can have like shirtless beach fights, RoadHouse. But our main villain is the son of the ultra villain, who is never seen on screen because he's in prison. So we're left with like his son. So it's like, imagine John Wick, but it was just Theon Greyjoy the whole movie, and they just talked about like the main kind of bad guy being locked up. And then, God bless him, or not, kind of how you feel about the guy. Conor McGregor, an hour in, like strolls into this movie. And I'm going to tell you right now, for what he is as a fighter, is whatever. As an actor, number one, he is the best part of this movie. Because he is terrible. Terrible. However, I don't know if it was because we realized he was going to be that way or what, but his performance in this movie kind of feels like somebody high up took Conor McGregor aside and said, "Hey, Conor McGregor, okay, this is your first big movie. Here's what we want. You ever seen The Room? All right, yeah, okay. So we want your character is essentially Tommy Wiseau playing the Joker and action. Like that, he is a cartoon character in this movie. He's in a whole nother film. He's just walking around like this angry Popeye, like trying to cover up his Irish accent and not covering up his Irish accent. So he does this weird, and he talks real fast, trying to cover the accent. So he's just walking around like all swole and going, it's a real Popeye performance. There's a bit with his character that he can drive, but he cannot park a car. And so he just drives, and when he needs to stop, he just runs into something. Which they don't tell you that. You just have to kind of pick that up. And I was like, man, that was kind of a funny joke. And that second Fletch movie from 1989. Because his car had no brakes. But no, and it's just him walking around being this insane maniac. And Gyllenhaal's just quipping all over the place. None of the side characters are built up. Not even our love interest. She just kind of pops in and be like, you know what? I don't like guys like you. You make me sick. What if we went out into the ocean and made kissy faces? Oh, what's that now? I'm the damsel in distress. The townspeople, you don't get any of that. There's a bookstore with the girl who is a chatty Kathy, and so she's that's her character trait to make Dalton want to be a good guy and fight for this town. Not really fight for the town, but just because this little girl talks a lot. And all the villains are stupid. Except for the one villain who I can't remember the actor's name. He pops up and stuff. And he's kind of playing like, what if Michael Pena's character from Ant-Man was a part of this biker gang? He's honestly, he legitimately is the best part of this movie because he's actually pretty funny in the film. But again, it's ugly shot. It's written like the lines in it are terrible. And again, it's just like we're pushing drugs to the Keys, and the RoadHouse. The bar is called the RoadHouse. Is called the RoadHouse. Is the only business standing on the shoreline so that this mid-villain's dad can build a port to bring in more drugs. And Jake Gyllenhaal is a disgraced UFC fighter because he has anger issues. And he gets out of optioned into going to this bar, being in a couple of scenes, hiring a new bouncer, and the bouncer that's there kind of telling him how to, like, you know, avoid being punched. Meanwhile, there's just like every scene at the bar, there's a new band playing all fun, like crawdaddy music, including this atrocious cover of Sublime's What I Got. This was just 2 hours of horrible nonsense. Again, not even looking at it as a remake of RoadHouse, which is a dumb, bad movie. This was just it looks ugly. It's shot insane. Like, well, I don't know what the thought was behind the way we were shooting this movie, but it's almost unwatchable in some parts. The acting is okay from some and WTF from others. Again, like, if you see the clips of McGregor on TikTok or whatever, that's fine. Again, he's just Tommy Wiseau playing the Joker. Yeah, this was bad, like real bad. Like, it was. I remember hearing like all the hubbub about this movie not going to theaters; it was going direct to streaming. And in my mind, being like, "Well, that's weird. Why IP alone? Why would you not put this in the theater?" And after watching, I looked at Amber. I was just like, "I don't know why we put this on streaming. Like, I almost regretted watching this thing for free." So I do not recommend this movie. I'm not even gonna bother calling it what it's called, because no, it's not. It sucked real bad. So hopefully nothing else gets this worse than this year, and we can just be like, oh, haha, how fun! What a bad movie! That one bad movie you watched. I doubt that'll happen, but we'll see. Because this was not fun at all. It was just a lot of just like angrily scowling. Old man shakes his fist, but it was just being like, why are you doing that? Why would you film it that way? Why are you doing this? And not because like, what are you doing to this great movie that I love? It's we're like, what are you like? In the purest of filmmaking terms, what are you doing? I do not recommend. So if you did and you loved it and you're like, Jason, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, you know, we could talk about that in the comments below, because that raises engagement. And we're all about raising engagement around here. So make sure you like and share. Go back and watch those other reviews. I had a really good review on Civil War. We talked about that. We talked about Dick Tracy. And sadly, not enough of you watched that review because Dick Tracy rules. Now, next week, I don't know what we're talking about. Yes, I do. It's Doomsday. Speaking of underseen back, I'm recording a bunch of these reviews here together. I saw a lot of movies this week. Next week will be my review of the 2008 flick Doomsday. Coincided with our live stream that Nick and I did for April. We talked about Mad Max ripoff. So tune in for that. And until then, just remember the rules. You know, expect the unexpected. Take it outside. And be nice. Especially if you like this movie when you're in the comments. Be nice. Bye.